Time to bring an end to this competition already. It's a real short game. And closing things out will be Darkside. His driver is Mr. Ash, a ravenous and mysterious creature only appearing in silhouette. He wants to retrieve an item so powerful it could destroy the world. So that's great. His special weapon is the poorly named Death Blast, literal blast of hellfire. It has 1 star, as do all of his stats, except for armor, which is maxed out. And that 1 extra point of armor over the last characters we've seen is worth emptying out all of your other stats. Armor is that good. We're going on to the final battle with 3 tiny little vehicles against our monstrosity. This is going to be a bloodbath. Yep, one of them's down to half health already. The vehicles you have to fight in each level are not random. In the arena level, those ones are randomly selected, but in every other level, each character is specifically assigned a group of enemies to fight in each level, which will always be the same anytime you play that level with that character. So I don't know why they wanted this final battle to be super easy. I don't know why it only has 3 enemies. Should have a few more, you would think. And this rooftop level has some of the better visual design of the game, which is saying very, very little. But it really benefits from not having walls around the arena. At this point, I kind of needed the health refill. According to the minimap, it's right in front of me. But in front of me is this big pyramid, which I need to destroy in order to get to the recharge station. Haven't killed anyone yet, but in exchange for that 1 health bar, I did get, I think, everybody into the red. Outlaw might be doing a little better, but messed up everyone else pretty bad. Once we do go into an indoor area, things get pretty ugly, but we're out of there quickly enough. The pickups that are in there with the recharge station, those are excellent. It's a homing missile, a power missile, and I think a fire missile, which is pretty bad, but still useful. We don't strictly need weapons as Darkside, we can just ram everybody to death. But we have to catch them first, and with the limits on turbo, that becomes difficult. Also, a big problem with Darkside on this particular level is when jumping between buildings, sometimes if you're not using turbo, you will just plummet. You don't quite have enough speed to get there. Sometimes. Most of the time it works, but randomly it will not. And when you do fall off a building, it's instant death. Same if you manage to get an enemy to fall off a building. Oh, I guess I didn't need to explain it, because I was going to demonstrate it. Gotta be careful up here on the famous skyscrapers of LA. More careful than that. The actual death was caused by the oil slick pickup. I drove through that and then I couldn't turn when I was heading towards the edge of the building. Second time was just bad driving though. Didn't stop me from winning the battle, but I still have to face Minion. The Minion battle in this game is a nightmare. I'm heading right for him at the moment, but I'm actually coming to this 3rd rooftop so that I can get as many munitions as possible, so I can actually kill the guy. To do that, I need to shoot this crate down from the crane, then crack it open, get all the prizes inside, which are a power missile, a homing missile, and an oil slick. If I could use that last one to make Minion fall off the building, that'd be great, but it would take a small miracle. And he's coming my way now. Minion has much more armor than me, even though I have maxed out armor, and every single special in the game. It seems like he has infinite uses of them and can deploy them all at once. So getting in front of him is a death sentence. Once again, demonstrated aptly. Luckily, we're now a million miles away from him thanks to being respawned. But eventually, we're gonna have to face him directly, and with one life, that is not very good. I guess we can enjoy the sights while we are breathing our last breath. You can even go into first-person view, which is vomitous, but it's cool that they detailed different first-person views for every vehicle. A lot of effort in all the wrong places. There is a password to start directly from the minion fight, but it doesn't skip the first round. It spawns minion with the 3 enemies all at the same time. Even still, it's actually kind of easier because you get to immediately go directly for minion and just try to kill him as quickly as possible. And then if you manage to survive, it's easy to clean up the remainders. It's less frustrating, if nothing else. But we gotta escape for the moment. Okay. Saved by a rail grind. Saved by a second rail grind through a concrete barrier. The terrible collision in this game works in your favor in the rooftops here. Allows you to sort of stick to the edge for a moment. And if you're going slowly enough, which Darkside always is, you can quickly slam on the brake and then you'll eventually be able to get back on the roof. The secret to completing this battle is power missiles. Unless you're one of the few vehicles who has a better special weapon than power missiles. But Darkside absolutely is not one such vehicle. Darkside has perhaps the single worst special in the entire game. It's like a tiny little blue bolt. Does precisely the same damage as a machine gun bullet. But power missiles are basically the same as Sweet Tooth special. So if you can get behind minion and land one, you can keep him in that spinning state long enough to add up appreciable damage and kill him. You want to hoard up at least 6 of the missiles, and if you can land 4 or 5 of them, you just might win Twisted Metal and get your wish.
Ah, Mr. Ash. Let's see what you've come asking for.
I've come to get back what's mine. Let's go, Black. It's time to come home.
Black? I don't understand.
It is not your place to understand. And even though you'll never admit it, there are many things you will never fully understand. And you, Black. I granted you more power than I gave any other demon, and you left. You left me.
No! Black! Where are you going? No! What are you doing with Black? Ah! No! 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 No!
Let's go, Black. The fires of hell need fuel.
Calypso's horrible, distorted screaming is like music to my ears. Awful music that I don't want to hear. Oh, and you speed off into the LA night, searching for the expressway back to hell. You hear it is located somewhere near Hollywood. Satire. Then it's roll credits. Now, I picked Darkside to finish things off, not because its story is in any way related to the next game. In fact, we've seen the last of Darkside for this series. It does not appear in either of the next 2 games. So the vehicle's not important, but what is the demon that Mr. Ash collected. Its name is Black, which is also the name of a driver in Twisted Metal Black. There's some intrigue as to the correlation between the two characters, and I wanted everyone to have as much information as possible on the subject. Also, the actor who plays Mr. Ash in that ending is definitely the best actor they got for the live-action cutscenes. Plus, the whole thing about a guy from hell with a demon that Calypso stole the powers from, that later becomes part of the backstory for Minions Driver. As for Minions Driver in this game, nothing about them is stated in official materials, and you can't drive as Minion except with a Game Shark, so there's no story behind it. However, there were other live-action cutscenes besides the endings that we've been checking out so far. They were also cut. They, for some reason, recorded 3 different cutscenes for Minion and its drivers. That's right, plural. Minion was supposed to be driven by what appeared to be a cult of white supremacists called Apocalypse 9, who stole the space-age tank and entered the competition and won, and we don't know what they wished for last year when they did win. But thankfully this year they were killed. Then they were cut from the game. But the live-action cutscenes featuring them did resurface. I don't know how, but they are up on YouTube. They also made live-action intro cutscenes, again plural. They dig even further into the story behind Minion, but they were all cut and contradicted by future games. So they don't really mean anything, but they are certainly an interesting curiosity. As for the remaining endings, we still have to see Mr. Grimm, of course. His story is just that he's a collector, and he is going after a very specific item to add to his collection. I won't spoil his true identity just yet, but I will say that he is a direct ripoff of the Ghost Rider comic books. We are going to see Thumper's ending. His canon ending in the game is that he wants the South Central of LA to be a safe and peaceful place to live. And indeed, he gets that wish. But his live-action ending is much more interesting, so you'll get to check that out. Crimson Fury is a British special agent who wants the same MacGuffin that Warthog's driver wanted. But in his ending, you'll actually get to see why he wants it. But you won't get to see Agent Stone himself. He does not appear. They didn't get an actor to play him. And the last ending I'll link is Hammerhead's unfortunate ending. Dave and Mike are the worst characters in this series, but you'll get to meet them in person very shortly, because this is the end of the credits. But we're not quite done with the game. Twisted Metal has a secret level which you can access by entering a password, and I think that's the only way to get to it. It's called the Fight of Your Life. 5 enemies in the arena from the first level. It's not actually very difficult, at least not for Darkside. I completed this in one try. I suppose for a less armored vehicle, this actually would be pretty close to impossible, but I don't think you're getting past Minion as a less armored vehicle anyway. Pretty sure the enemies that appear here are also random, but I could be mistaken. For me, this is just going to be a little victory lap. And I guess I should probably talk about some of the pickups I never mentioned. I think the only one I completely forgot was the catapult. There are these little springs that you can drop on the ground, and if an enemy hits them, they just go flying forward very quickly. I'm sure I've hit a few throughout the run so far. You could, in theory, use them to set up some sort of combo where you get someone behind you to fly in front of you and then take them out. But this game doesn't control nearly well enough to warrant that kind of deep thinking. Oh, and there is also a weapon called the Rear Flame, which, as you might expect, fires a gout of flames directly behind you. It's a very short distance though, so it is impossible to hit with, it's useless. I also never mentioned that this arena is supposed to be an underground nightclub underneath Calypso's secret base, which doesn't make any sense because it has stadium seating and a spectator box. But that's PS1 manuals for you. It's kind of neat that every special in this game has its own unique sound effect when fired, but in this tiny area with all these vehicles, it's a cacophony of enemies constantly firing their specials. Kind of drowns out the music, which is actually legitimately quite good. Haven't really been able to hear it over my talking and all the explosions and whatnot. But it's a pretty underrated soundtrack, honestly. And ultimately, once this game got going, I could start to see why it became such a smash hit. It's fun and exciting, had a really good formula going. It's just impossible to go back to because they dramatically improved upon all future installments. Which, now that this thing's complete, is where we'll be heading. You can check out all those endings I had to skip if you want to stay in the loop. And I will be returning very shortly with Twisted Metal 2 World Tour.